if you can believe it, and I'm not really sure that I can. My first interview with Bethel was in early February of 2021, so almost exactly a year ago. I had an intuition, but I could not have known then how immeasurably lucky I was to meet you and for all the blessings that followed. We took a leap of faith together, you and I, even though we had never even met each other in 3 dimensions. Ger Hayiti, I have been a stranger. I began here as a stranger, a hopeful and grateful and energized stranger. So the title of my drash, this Ger Hayiti phrase, comes from a line in this week's Parsha. When seemingly out of nowhere, the Torah explains the derivation of the names of Moshe's sons. Gershom is derived from Ger Sham, stranger there. The Torah explains why his name is derived this way. That is to say, I have been a stranger in a foreign land. Ki amar Ger Hayiti be'eretz nachriya. Gershom's name memorializes, symbolizes the experience of being a stranger in Egypt. And Moshe's other son's name, Eliezer, memorializes the experience of being liberated from Egypt. Eli, my God, is an ezer, is a helper. Moshe, in naming his sons, both remembers when he was a stranger, and he imagines what it would be like to no longer be a stranger. I understand from Moshe's narrative and from my own life experience this instinct to pull very close, to lean towards intimacy and away from strangerhood. Karen and I were welcomed here to Bethel with the most genuine and beautiful warmth. In your backyards, at your Shabbat dinner tables, on the floors of your living rooms playing with your dogs, we have listened and laughed and learned about each other. I have been honored to share storytelling with many of you on walks and over coffee, on Zoom, over the phone, over bagels at Kiddush, in long email threads, after Minyan, out in the lobby, in the parking lot, in the sukkah. Our relationship, which began at such a physical distance, with screens always between us, continues to grow every day. Ger Hayiti, I have been a stranger, I was a stranger, and then I wasn't. 2 human experiences, being far away and pulling very close. Beginning as a stranger, I was then welcomed as the newest member of this community with your open hearts and a generosity of spirit for which I continue to be humbled and grateful. And as we draw closer, I invite us to reflect on what closeness means and what we want it to mean between us. Whenever I meet a new person or a new group at Bethel, often the first question I am asked, understandably, is, what should we call you? I appreciate the respect that you have shown me in asking. In my first few months, I often answered in a very open-ended way, inviting each individual to decide what felt right in the moment. And on the one hand, I really love the flexibility of this answer, giving the choice to you. And at the same time, I have begun to feel that I owe you a fuller and more authentic answer, a fuller explanation of my thoughts and feelings about this. What should we call you? I prefer to be called Rabbi. Rabbi or Rabbi Megdal or RDM for short. Sometimes I sign my emails, many times RDM. This next piece is important. If there is one thing you remember from what I'm saying now, please let it be this. My preference for Rabbi is not me pulling away. It is, for me, the exact opposite. It is me pulling closer to you. Just like Gershom's name signifies one of the defining identities of the Israelites, of having been strangers, and Eliezer's name signifies the relationship that we have with God, the new relationship, the words that we use for each other help to define the nature of our relationship. And to me, a rabbi relationship is so special. Calling me Deborah isn't so special. Anyone can call me Deborah. Any one of you can call me Deborah, and it's the name that I use most in the world. The barista at Starbucks can call me Deborah. My accountant calls me Deborah. Every company that shows up in my inbox calls me Deborah. You can keep calling me Deborah. And if calling me Deborah is important to you, or I'll put it another way, if calling me Rabbi will get in the way of our relationship, then please, please keep calling me Deborah. But my hope and invitation to you is that you will call me Rabbi because I am your rabbi. And this is not a way of asserting authority, and it is not about ego, at least not consciously. I was ordained and given the title rabbi from the Jewish Theological Seminary, and of course I am proud of that achievement. But I want to be your rabbi not as a title and not as an achievement like that. I want to be your rabbi because I want us to build a relationship together. Looking at the broader picture, what does it mean for me to be your rabbi, for us to have this type of relationship? I commit to you that I will be a safe person with whom to share the joys and pains of being human. With care and confidentiality, I will use all the power of my heart to listen to your experience and to offer my loving presence. Through this rabbi relationship, together we can encounter the wisdom of our tradition, and we can learn together and pray together and cry together and laugh together. It is really a very special type of relationship, and particular type of relationship. Separately, calling Bethel's first female clergy member rabbi is a feminist act. For thousands of years, rabbis didn't look like me, or like maybe more than half of us in this room today on Sisterhood Zahava Shabbat. Women have only been ordained by the conservative movement since 1985, and in the Reform movement, a little earlier, 1972, and in the Orthodox movement, in some parts of the Orthodox movement, only very, very recently. Who remembers a time where there were not women rabbis? I see many hands in the room. The Jewish Theological Seminary voted to ordain openly lesbian and gay rabbinical students only in 2007. That was just 15 years ago. So now younger people in the audience can even say, who in this room remembers a time before a lesbian could be a rabbi? That's everyone almost. It will take much more than one lifetime to begin to undo the millennia of assumptions about who can and who cannot be a rabbi. So when we call a woman rabbi, when we call a lesbian rabbi, we are creating a more just world for ourselves and for our children. The young people are listening to the words that we use, and I am proud that we pass on a Judaism that has more equality than ever before in history. So I have now given a much longer answer and a more authentic answer to your very real and respectful question in your welcoming of me. What should we call you? And in response to your beautiful welcome, and in my experience of being welcomed here, this is a part of what it means to me to be welcomed here as your rabbi. And so going forward, I hope that we stay in conversation about this and everything else, and that we always give each other the benefit of the doubt. We continue to ask questions, we continue to listen as we grow and evolve together. If there were ever a time to double down on our welcoming, to double down on that drawing close, to double down on our presence and care for each other, it's now. After just 1 week after the frightening events, which we all witnessed and heard about last Shabbat in Colleyville, Texas, and which Karen spoke about so beautifully earlier in our service. I pray for us that we continue to move from that distance of stranger to a relationship that is much closer and more sacred. Shabbat shalom. Thank you.